Each day, these women are being victimized without much hope.
Turn that shit off.
The problem is big.
Get the camera out of here. Get it out of here. Seriously.
It's an industry that is in the shadows.
We do not do none of that.
Make these places accountable.
In 11 months, 9 illicit spas shut down, 6 women rescued from human trafficking, and now new state and city laws on the horizon.
All of this prompted by our 11-month investigation exposing illegal activity in spas across El Paso County. Good evening. I'm Bart Bedsole.
And I'm Heather Skold. Tonight, we premiere a special investigation, Hiding in Plain Sight. Our coverage changing laws on the city and state level.
More to come on that. But before we dive in, a warning. We're dealing with adult themes involving very graphic information not suitable for children.
We don't sugarcoat the truth. Whether you call them houses of prostitution or brothels, the illegal activity is happening here, right in our own backyard.
Investigative reporter Stephanie Sierra has led this series. Tonight, she takes us back to where the investigation started, one that was hiding in plain sight.
We start tonight at Lucky Massage, located right across the street from our station along South 8th Street. And despite being neighbors, you could say our visit wasn't welcomed.
Hello?
Huh? Is Tina here?
No.
I'm Stephanie with News Channel 13 across the street.
I'm
We have
sorry,
a question.
I'm sorry.
No. Excuse me, ma'am. We have a number of questions for you.
This woman working inside didn't want to speak with us. She's one of around 70 women in Greater Colorado Springs working in a spa similar to this one.
Ma'am, are you aware there are very explicit reviews posted online that clearly suggest sex is for sale? Are you aware of that?
No.
No English will.
No English.
I want to leave these with you so you can see them.
Lucky is located in a shopping center, as most of the spas are in our area. And despite what this woman said, the proof of illicit behavior is all online, posted on a site called RubMaps. The website only shows erotic spas or massage parlors by their own description. We bought a membership last winter in order to gain access to the reviews posted about each spa in southern Colorado. In nearly every case, reviews posted by men were extremely graphic, ranking the women on their nationality and appearance, like breast size, age, and willingness to have sex. The reviews also detail the cost for the massage and the additional cost for sex acts.
People dirty, some people stinky, I don't like that. I want to go home.
That's the voice of one woman we're referring to as Amy, who works inside Bangkok Thai Spa, one that has a long history of explicit sexual reviews dating back several years. Our surveillance showed the clientele frequenting these spas is all men. But I was able to get a massage in order to talk directly to these women.
I'm too tired with this.
Too tired with your work?
Yeah, that's why I go back.
To go back? Yeah.
Back in February, we discovered Greater Colorado Springs had 36 active spas offering sex for sale.
Mr. Kraft, do you have a message to your fans?
Shortly after New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft was arrested along with more than 24 other men, video recorded having sex in a spa in West Palm Beach.
Investigators say they found an operation that relied on Asian women being used as sex workers.
The same type of spa we have here. We met with Mayor John Suthers about the issue, who directed us to meet with the newly appointed police chief, Vince Niski, and Lieutenant Mark Compt, who lead the Vice Squad, tasked to investigate prostitution and human trafficking.
They're selling sex. They're showing young girls wearing barely anything. So this business, when posting these ads, is demonstrating that it's a house of prostitution.
Lieutenant Compt and his team busted several spas in 2013 and 2014. But the busts didn't result in much. The women were charged with prostitution, which is a misdemeanor that only requires a fine. A price of doing business for these spas. Take Sang White, for example. She was arrested in 2014 for suspicion of human trafficking, pimping, and providing a place for prostitution. She pled guilty to prostitution, paid her fine, and weeks later went right back to running World Spa. We tried talking to White, but she never came to the door. Instead, we spoke to one of the workers.
Just curious, are you aware that there are reviews online saying that you can purchase sex acts here at this location? They're all right here. They're all right here on this. You can see it on this review right here.
Where you get it?
And you're not worried about getting busted again?
We do not do none of that.
Here's the problem. Police tell us they could keep busting women like White and her staff for prostitution, but it doesn't solve the issue.
It's very sad. One, that their dignity is being stripped from them and they don't even realize it.
The Vice Squad told us without better laws, it seems like a waste of time. During late winter and early spring, we started to do our own surveillance on the spas. The most notable factor? The clientele. Pretty much men, and more men. The busiest time, right around noon, during the lunch hour.
How did you find out about this place?
I just literally Googled massage. It was nearby.
Yes, Google is one way, but most men use that site we mentioned earlier, called Rub Maps. The site is home to tens of thousands of reviews. Each one our team read was crafted in exhaustive detail at all hours of the night and into the wee hours of the morning. We learned that after surveilling 3 different spas at night, World Spa on March 26th, Paris Spa on April 2nd, and VIP Spa on April 25th. For each spa, we arrived at 8:30 at night, each one closing at 10, but we stayed another 3 hours until 1 in the morning, watching the front and back doors just to see if any of the employees would leave. Each time, the outcome was the same. The men would leave at closing time, and the next morning, we'd often see a new review posted online.
They don't feel that there is something else that life has to offer them.
But the women never left, just occasionally came out for a smoke break.
They're actually living in the spa, mattress on the floor, lamps, a TV, maybe a hot plate, a microwave, a refrigerator with food in it.
These photos taken by police show inside a Colorado Springs spa. A sad reality, one that isn't uncommon. Most of the women we found working in these spas are living inside, under the control of their boss, also known as a mama-san. Mama-sans are older women who live with the workers, acting as an on-site manager. Our research indicates the passports and visas for these women are often held by the organization to prevent them from leaving. We saw it happen with Nagul and Wanpen Boonpraiser Peisel, the 2 arrested in 2014 for pimping, human trafficking, and keeping a place of prostitution during their time running Sawasati Bodyworks Spa. Inside parlors like theirs were cramped rooms, cluttered bathrooms, food stuffed in bins on the floor, refrigerators, and lingerie garments. As Amy Sandrolini, who worked with the Exodus Road, a global nonprofit aimed at rescuing victims of human trafficking, told us, it's no secret these women are living inside.
We need to wake up, start asking the tough questions.
So we did just that, pressing city officials on a number of laws seemingly being ignored or simply not enforced.
The first law in question is about prohibiting people living inside a place of business. Our current city code requires a 220-volt stove to be on the premises in order for police to potentially shut these places down. But a hot plate or even a microwave, both of which we know are inside these spas, do not meet that criteria.
Springs police tried to shut some of the spas down that had microwaves and hot plates inside, but city code enforcers wouldn't let them because there wasn't a 220-volt stove. Seems strange, right? Despite obvious proof, these women are living inside using hot plates and microwaves to cook food, yet police can't and won't shut them down until the code is changed. The bottom line here is the code is too specific, so we brought this issue to City Councilwoman Jill Gabler.
Having this on our radar is something that we can maybe hopefully begin to prosecute the illegal activity that's going on now.
Despite our countless attempts to shine a spotlight on this apparent flaw in our city code, Gabler and her colleagues have yet to schedule a public meeting on the matter. All we kept hearing, our attorneys are looking into it. So we asked to speak to the city attorney assigned to this, Mark Smith, yet he refused our many requests. But we didn't stop. We just kept asking questions, specifically about city laws that don't make sense. Here's another one. The law requires sexually oriented businesses to register with the city, but when we asked the city clerk about this, we were told the spas do not fit within the definition of the city code for sexually oriented businesses. It doesn't fit? We found that a bit strange, given the sexual nature of these businesses clearly fits in line with several categories listed in the definition online. So we challenged this finding, as previous city busts had yielded prostitution charges, and the explicit rub map reviews have men voluntarily bragging about the sex for sale, and lastly, of course, the explicit ads for the spas. These ads candidly shocked us as they depicted sex acts online. But as if that wasn't enough, the ads also outlined in writing specific sex acts like oral, vaginal, and anal sex available for an upcharge.
It's really disgusting and it's really disturbing, honestly. I can't believe that there's even a website out here like this that rates women like this. It's so degrading.
20-year veteran massage therapists like Rianne Guffarati, owner of a professional Springs-based massage clinic, are frustrated the illicit spas are tarnishing the industry's reputation.
You know, to me, this is not massage therapy, and it is unfortunate that they're lumping it into massage therapy. To me, this is prostitution. This is a brothel.
All spas, including those with the most explicit sale of sex, are all posted in an online directory on Cardio.com. It includes a picture of each spa, the address, and the names of the principals, which are the folks whose names were used in official documents. These principals are a group mainly consisting of Asian men in their 50s and 60s that would appear at first glance to be managers, but actually are paper tigers who appear to have power, but we didn't find them to be closely involved. In fact, tracking their addresses became difficult as many were fake or invalid. That seemed to be a trend. None of these spas seem to follow basic requirements of state law, like having a business license, for example. According to data from the Secretary of State's office, we found that 28 of the 36 active spas either were no longer registered as a business with the state, or the registration had lapsed and not been renewed. We brought this fact to the Business and Licensing Director with the Colorado Secretary of State's office, Mike Hardin. He declined our interview request and insisted the agency's hands are tied. We were then sent this statement: "We don't have the authority to investigate businesses, but provide a searchable registry for the public." This begs the question, with 77% of the spas in Greater Colorado Springs not properly registered with the state, what else are these businesses not doing? What about taxes and massage therapy licenses required by the state? Who's holding these places accountable?
It was a 6 o'clock Frontier flight to Vegas. That's how this all started. I was actually walking through these doors of the Colorado Springs airport. That's when I got a call from police told to stand back. Why? Well, we had the same tip as Homeland Security about the same woman and happened to arrive here at the same time. But the view I was looking at 8 months ago was different.
Instead, I was looking at this. A woman in her late 40s, arrested and handcuffed by Homeland Security. Her name is Hae Kyung-so. You see her here, surrounded by 3 agents, walking her out the door. So naturally, I followed briskly behind them, recording this footage on my iPhone as they brought her and that red suitcase outside, right into this black SUV and whisked away. I replayed the video, trying to piece together her arrest and the shocking allegations made against her. So how did we end up here? Let's go back. All the way to March. Little did we know at the time, but this part of the story started here.
It was late on a Tuesday night. I was actually parked in this exact spot with my camera in hand, surveilling Paris Spa directly across the street.
We didn't know who she was at the time, let alone her ties to this spa. That's until we got a tip. Skeptical at first, we spent several days vetting this source, analyzing everything from relationships to court and legal documents. And after several meetings, we had no reason to doubt the credibility of this person.
She's doing these bad things. I don't like how she does a sexual job, you know, like a sex manufacturer.
Those are the words of our source. But in order to protect this identity, we had someone else read these words due to fear of retaliation from this criminal enterprise. But this source had enough evidence to suggest So would bring women from her home country, Korea, to come serve as sex workers at Paris Spa, receiving little money in return.
I wish she would just stop doing this kind of job.
But the tip wasn't just about the brothel. During this conversation with our source, she said So owns 3 spas, one in Colorado Springs, Chicago, and South Carolina. The tip said So regularly money laundered upwards of $100,000 back to Korea every 3 months. Remember that initial tip claimed So would be traveling on a Frontier flight to Vegas on May 30th, and that tip came with very specific information. It included So would be traveling with extended family, the color of the clothes they would be wearing, and even warning us So would allegedly be carrying the cash inside a red suitcase to be laundered. Then, as we found out on May 30th, every part of that tip played out exactly how it was described to us. But we were still left puzzled. Was there really cash stuffed inside this carry-on? We were curious and took our questions to Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. We sat down with Homeland Security Special Agent Steve Kagan, who works with ICE criminal investigations.
Why is there so much secrecy surrounding So with DOJ and ICE? We feel like it's been kind of a secretive process, and I'm just trying to understand why.
I don't have, it's not secretive for me. I just gave you the answer of she was arrested for overstaying her visa. I don't have a secretive answer for you.
So you're saying no sign of any criminal activity on that day?
You might have been watching something different than we were, but that's what I have on that case.
So here's what we do know. After So was driven away, she was taken to the ICE detention center in Aurora. She was held there for just over a month before being released on July 10th. According to the Department of Justice, So wasn't formally charged with a crime. But according to records from ICE, So came into the U.S. through Fairbanks, Alaska in April of 2003. So overstayed her visit well over a decade. But the real question is, why seize her on this day at the airport?
We just remain so confused how someone can overstay their visa for 16 years and then be released less than 2 months after.
I don't have an answer for you.
Again, we didn't get a straight answer.
Over the past year in El Paso County, 6 women have been rescued from human trafficking. 9 spas have shut down, and now new city laws are in the works. But before any of that happened, I want to take you back in time.
After making attempts to call, I sent 36 property owners a letter. In it, specific details about the illicit reviews posted about the business operating on their land. 2 months went by. All we got was silence. So I went to speak to them in person, because this group is enabling the spas to operate with impunity.
When we were tracking down the property owners, most were in Colorado Springs, but many were here in the city of Denver and surrounding suburbs. Are they going to continue to look the other way and allow this kind of activity?
We saw it all, from each and every property owner or registered agent leasing to these illicit spas. Some were civil.
You guys have a great day. It's good talking to you.
All I know is that he's been out of the country.
Or candidly, didn't like our questions.
Can you stop it?
Okay.
And then also, can you stop it?
What was that? Okay, I'm not going to talk to you.
As for the others, well, they didn't make it to the door. Instead, quick on their feet to run away, close up shop, and ignore our questions.
We're looking for Sarah. Wait, he's here. He's back.
All while hiding in their home or office.
Sir, we just want to get a comment from your side.
We traveled all across the state with the intention to get all sides and alert this group of the illegal activity going on under their watch. But for most cases, what started as a simple question.
I just had a couple questions for you regarding the story we're working on.
What do you got?
Are you aware of what's going on inside? That's a whole part of the story, sir.
Quickly turned belligerent, like Michael Reeg, who we had a scheduled interview with. And hostile.
Daddy, turn that shit off. What the hell are you guys talking about?
Simply put, most of these property owners appear to feel no responsibility to stop this. Take John Litherland, for example. Unlike most property owners who lease out their entire strip mall, this man leases a single-family home he owns directly to an illicit spa.
Don't you feel you have an obligation, though, as the landlord? You have the authority here to end this.
I don't believe I have an obligation.
During the interview, I shared with him proof of the explicit reviews made about Sweet Relax therapy.
I know this exists throughout Colorado Springs. I agree with you.
Yet, despite holding the proof in his hand, he never addresses my question.
But I believe you're incorrect.
Will you take another look? Because that's the proof for you right there.
That right there is what we saw time and time again. Why? It's all about the rental income and looking the other way, assuming no responsibility. Unlike city leaders in Aurora, who passed legislation that shut down 19 of the city's 30 illicit spas in just over a year, it became a domino effect.
And it got so bad that we had to take action.
This is Aurora City Councilman Charlie Richardson, one of the brains behind this ordinance that tightened regulation of massage parlors back in 2018. The ordinance prohibits things like people living inside the business, odd hours of operation, lingerie attire, sexual advertising online, plus requires pre-screening to verify the ownership has no prior criminal ties. See, these rules worked for Aurora, and law enforcement is enforcing it by inspecting the remaining spas. But the problem didn't go very far. As our news partners in Denver discovered, the spas forced out just reopened next door in Denver's city limits, where the rules restricting illegal activity are lax, to say the least.
Denver doesn't have a lot of regulations for massage parlors.
Trevor Vaughn works in Aurora's tax and licensing division.
I think a big part of Denver's issue is there's not a pre-screening of the business before they get a license. And additionally, when they see things that are signs of illicit massage businesses, they don't violate Denver's ordinance.
The same problems we're seeing here in Colorado Springs, which is why we're urging City Council to take action, pressing Council President Richard Skorman back in July.
Richard, where is this on your priority list?
It's a big priority, and we've all been watching the local coverage that you've been doing, and it is more of an issue than we realized, and so we want to see what options are out there.
Several Colorado Springs city staffers and attorneys traveled to Aurora to discuss how their legislation worked. Our hope was for a public meeting so the city could move forward mirroring Aurora's approach. We kept on it, Skorman and I exchanging weekly calls and emails, each conversation giving hope for progress. But after 6 months, no meeting and no true progress. Instead, we were told time and time again, our city attorneys are looking into it.
Why has it taken this long?
Well, I guess they were doing their research. I've been urging them to do it quicker, but that's how these things happen.
You know, a lot can happen in 6 weeks, yet very little has happened here in 6 months. What's being done now?
Well, what we have done, and it's really through the mayor's office as well, is to allow the city to use what we call our public nuisance ordinance.
According to the city code, this ordinance that's already in place allows police to investigate any business that meets the criteria for a public nuisance. That criteria would include any illegal activity, prompting citations, subsequent investigations leading to eviction.
And we can shut down the business and board up the door.
So were you pleased with Aurora's results, shutting down 19 spas?
Yes, very much. The issue about that, though, is whether they're going to open up somewhere else, and that's the issue that we may be dealing with here.
Well, these businesses may be shut down under the public nuisance ordinance, but the legislation won't prohibit these spas from just reopening down the street. We've seen it time and time again in the city. It's not solving the problem.
Well, that's all we can do. I mean, I think Aurora probably has similar situations.
Well, they actually don't, because the ordinance is much more specific. I'm reading it right here. It prevents that business from reopening for at least 2 years.
And that's a part that I really do, I think, want to look at as a city council. I think that 2-year timetable, but let's first see if they do.
With the Aurora legislation seemingly off the table, our focus shifted to the public nuisance ordinance. An obvious question being, if this is already in effect, why haven't police been enforcing it? We requested an interview with Colorado Springs Police Chief Vince Niski, but he refused to speak to us. According to a records request, in early December, we learned that the Colorado Springs Vice Squad audited, which is the police term, 18 of the spas over the past year and a half to verify if these businesses had valid massage therapy licenses, which is required under state law. 11 of the 18 spas failed the audit and were cited. Yet police are not required to go back and check if the spas cited are now in compliance, which begs the question, what's the point? During the audit, Dream Spa and One Spa were busted for prostitution. Yet nothing changed. Both fully operational, with recent online reviews, including one this month, revealing in explicit detail sex is still for sale. The only thing that did change, Dream Spa is now Ocean Dream Spa. So, back to the question, did police move to shut them down under the public nuisance ordinance? The answer is no. We were again refused an on-camera interview with police. But I did email Lieutenant John Koch, who oversees the Vice unit, to find out why these spas were not shut down. He responded by saying the spas cited for prostitution have not been deemed a public nuisance. Yet, that's not what the city's legal definition of a public nuisance states. In fact, prostitution, soliciting prostitution, pandering, keeping a place of prostitution, pimping, or public indecency is the first section listed. This begs the final question. If being busted for prostitution does not prompt these spas to shut down, what does? According to the ordinance, 2 or more instances of illegal activity is required in order for the legislation to be enforced and the spas to shut down. But the nuisance ordinance is now the chosen solution. We also asked about another ordinance not being enforced, which bans living where you work.
You know, it's not solving the problem. What's your response to that?
Well, yeah, it doesn't make sense. So, yeah, we could certainly change that if that's something that we have the ability to manage. Yeah, that certainly makes sense.
As far as we know, there's still 19 spas that have yet to be investigated by police. To put it in perspective, audits to verify massage licenses were not even a requirement until July of last year. Before that, any investigation to check for things like prostitution was done at random, but never required. What also wasn't required was checking for a valid business license, which we know 80% of our spas don't have. So at this point, neither the state or the city is checking for business licenses. But as Skorman pointed out, our police department is facing its own challenges.
Well, one of the issues is that we're just short-handed in the police department. 120 officers short.
120 officers short. It makes sense why police are struggling to investigate a problem that's only growing in our community. But what may be even more concerning is the projected solution to fix this problem. We talked to dozens of neighboring business owners like Lita Levitt, who questions how effective the public nuisance ordinance will be.
As long as we stay complacent about it, they're just going to continue to shut down, turn off their open signs, go away, and then come back the next month and open up again.
Moving elsewhere in the city or the county. A never-ending cycle. That's why we tried to take this issue directly to Sheriff Bill Elder, who also refused our interview. So we then called the chair of the El Paso County Commission, Mark Waller, who agrees a long-term solution is needed.
Just a circumstance of whack-a-mole. You shut one down in this house, then it just pops up again here. You shut it down there, it pops up again somewhere else. I think the only way that we're going to be able to deal with this issue of human trafficking, and deal with it correctly, is to really turn a very bright spotlight on it and say, if you engage in this act, we are going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law.
Shining a spotlight. It's what our investigation did, pressuring City Council, the state, and as we later found out, the Johns too. Between the commercials on TV to the cameras surveilling these spas, word spread of the KRDO effect. This term used in online reviews where men complained sex was no longer for sale. Yes, a real legal massage was the only offer for a time. Yet, the Johns were never our focus. It was always about helping these victims.
Do you think any of the women at Lily want out?
The women working and living inside these places. All the workers we met were foreign. We believe some are here by choice, but others aren't, wanting to escape. Just ask Deputy District Attorney Jennifer Darby.
There are some illegitimate massage parlors that are preying on women, that are using them almost as indentured servants.
But following our coverage, 9 spas have shut down, and 6 women have been rescued from those situations tied to human trafficking. We were not told what spas the women came from, but we know after their prostitution arrest, their charges were dropped, and they were given a chance for a new life, one that doesn't involve slavery. I'm Stephanie Sierra.
Hello? Does a woman named Tina work here?
Tina no more. Tina no more.
Tina no more?
Yeah, Tina no more.
What happened to Tina?
I don't know. I'm sorry, no English.
So did Lucy work here at one point?
I don't know. I'm new here, so I don't know Lucy.
Okay.
So before, I don't know. So Lucy, I think so. I'm new here, and Lucy go. I don't know.
And you can see where it says sex acts for sale on this website.